The priest asked, "Do you Kelechi take?" And the whole hall went silent because a tray crashed and a woman's voice whispered, trembling, "No, not here." Kelechi's head snapped toward the sound. At the edge of the glittering wedding hall, under gold lights and expensive perfumes, a waitress in a black and white uniform knelt to gather shattered glass. Guests hissed. Cameras tilted. Someone laughed nervously. Then Kelechi saw her face. Not fully, just enough. The almond-shaped eyes he once memorized. The small scar near the eyebrow he once kissed after an argument. His throat tightened, so fast he almost choked on his own breath. "Adora," he mouthed, like saying it could summon the past without consequences. The woman froze. Her hands stopped moving. Her shoulders trembled like she was carrying a storm inside her chest. She didn't look up. She couldn't. Behind Kelechi, Kayamaka, his bride, squeezed his arm with a smile that had teeth in it. "Babe," she whispered through her teeth, still smiling for the guests. "What's wrong?" Kelechi tried to breathe. Tried to pretend he wasn't seeing a ghost. "Nothing," he lied, but his voice came out thin. The MC clapped loudly. "Everyone relax." Small mistake. But the mistake had already turned into attention. Phones came out. The bridesmaids leaned forward. A groomsman muttered, "Guy, you day shake." Adora stood up slowly, still avoiding his eyes. That's when Kelechi saw it. A thin chain around her neck slipped out from under her collar when she bent. Hanging at the end of it was a ring. A ring he knew better than his own watch. His old wedding ring. The one he lost the night Adora walked out of his life. Kelechi's heartbeat punched his ribs. "Where did you get that?" he whispered, but the mic on his suit collar caught it, and the speakers carried his words into the hall like a confession. Murmurs rose, soft at first, then loud like rain. Kayamaka's smile stiffened. "What ring?" "Kelechi, what is she wearing?" Adora finally lifted her eyes. And the pain inside them was not the pain of someone who made a mistake at work. It was the pain of someone who had been surviving. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Don't do this here." Kelechi took one step forward before he even realized his feet moved. In his mind, memories slammed open. Adora in his small apartment laughing. Adora crying because he came home late again. Adora holding her stomach the day she said she felt dizzy. Adora disappearing after his mother said, "That girl is not your class." He swallowed. "You vanished. You blocked me." I didn't block you," Adora snapped, then immediately softened, as if anger cost her too much. I wasn't allowed." "Wasn't allowed by who?" Kelechi asked. Adora's eyes darted past him to the front row, to where Kelechi's mother sat, calm and perfectly dressed. Watching like this was just another program. Kelechi followed Adora's gaze. His mother's face didn't change, but her fingers tightened around her clutch. Adora's chain slipped again, and the ring swung openly for everyone to see. A guest gasped. "That ring. Isn't that?" Kelechi's mother leaned toward her seatmate and murmured something sharp. At the same time, Kayamaka stepped closer to Kelechi, still smiling for the cameras, but her eyes were dark. "Who is she?" she whispered. "Tell me now." Kelechi didn't answer because Adora's hand moved, fast, into her apron pocket, and she pulled out a small envelope with his name written on it. Adora held it out like it weighed 1,000 kilos. "I came today to work," she said, voice shaking. "Not to destroy you. But fate is wicked." Kelechi stared at the envelope. "What is that?" Adora's mouth trembled. "The truth you never got." Kayamaka's smile finally broke. "Kelechi, don't take anything from her." Kelechi reached anyway, because his life had paused on that tray crash and refused to move forward. His fingers touched the envelope, and Adora whispered, so softly only he could hear, "Please, before you open it, look behind you." Kelechi turned. A little boy stood near the kitchen entrance, half hidden behind a curtain, wide-eyed and scared. And the boy had Kelechi's exact dimple. The boy looked at Adora, then at Kelechi, and said in a small voice that cut through the entire hall, "Mommy, should I call him Daddy?" The boy's voice echoed again, soft but deadly. "Mommy, should I call him Daddy?" and the entire wedding hall stopped breathing. Gasps ripped through the guests like torn fabric. Someone dropped a phone. Another whispered, "Jesus," too loudly. Kayamika laughed, sharp, loud, unnatural. She tightened her grip on Kelechi's arm as if anchoring him to the altar. "This is a joke," she said into the mic before anyone else could speak. "Security, please remove that child and the waitress." Now, two security men hesitated, confused by the crowd and the sudden tension. Adora rushed forward instinctively. "Don't touch him," she cried, her composure cracking. "Please, he's just a child." Kelechi's body moved before his mind did. He stepped down from the altar, placing himself between the guards and the boy. "Nobody is touching anyone," he said, voice low but dangerous. Kayamika turned to him slowly, disbelief sharpening her smile. "Kelechi," she whispered, still smiling for the guests, "this is our wedding day. Don't look at her. Don't listen to her. This is clearly a setup." Kelechi didn't answer. Because the boy was staring at him like he recognized something he didn't have words for. The MC panicked. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's all remain calm." But calm had already left. Phones were up. A blogger whispered excitedly. A bridesmaid muttered, "That boy looks like the groom." Kelechi knelt slightly so he was closer to the child's height. His voice softened. "What's your name?" Adora shook her head violently. "No, please don't." The boy looked back at his mother, confused, then back at Kelechi. "They said I must not talk," he murmured. "Who said?" Kelechi asked. Before the boy could answer, Kayamika snapped, "Enough. This is madness." She turned to the guests. "This woman is my husband's bitter ex. She's trying to embarrass us because she was paid to serve today. That's all." Adora flinched at the word ex like it slapped her. Kelechi rose slowly. "Kayamika, did you know about her before today?" Kayamika's eyes flickered, just once. "Of course not. Why would I?" But Kelechi felt something slip inside him. Trust. Adora's voice dropped, heavy with years of swallowed pain. "I didn't come for this," she said. "I begged the manager not to put me in this all. I begged." She looked at Kelechi, tears burning. "I survived alone. I kept quiet. I didn't ask you for anything." Kelechi's chest tightened. "Then why is he calling you mommy?" Silence. Adora closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. "Because I am." The hall erupted. Kayamika staggered back, as if struck. "You're lying," she screamed. "You're sick. Kelechi, she's manipulating you." Kelechi looked at Adora. "How old is he?" Adora hesitated. And that hesitation screamed louder than words. Before Adora could answer, a woman stood up from the front row. Kelechi's mother. She smiled calmly, raising a hand. "Everyone please. This is unnecessary drama." Kelechi turned fully toward her. "Mama, do you know this child?" His mother's smile didn't break. "No." Adora's breath caught. Then Kelechi's mother added softly, "And even if there was once a pregnancy, it ended. Years ago." Adora staggered like the floor shifted beneath her. "What?" Kelechi whispered. Adora's hand shook. "You told me," she said, staring at his mother. "You told me I lost the baby." The older woman's eyes hardened for half a second. "I told you the truth that protected my son." Kelechi's blood went cold. Protected him from what? Kayamika grabbed Kelechi's arm desperately. "You see? It's all confusion. Let's finish this wedding. Please." But Kelechi wasn't looking at Kayamika anymore. He was looking at his mother, and realizing this wasn't an accident. Kelechi faced the guests, his voice steady but shaken. "This wedding is paused." The hall exploded. As chaos rose, Adora whispered through tears, holding the boy close. "They took everything from me. And now they want to erase him too." Kelechi looked down at the child again, and thought, if this boy is mine. Then someone lied. Kelechi stared at the boy's face and felt his chest tighten, because it was like looking at his own childhood standing right in front of him. The hall was no longer a wedding hall. It was a courtroom without a judge. "Pause the wedding," someone shouted. "This is madness," another guest yelled. Kayamika stood frozen at the altar, bouquet trembling in her hands. "Kelechi," she called, her voice breaking for the first time, "come back here. Please." But Kelechi couldn't. He turned away from the altar and followed Adora as she backed toward the service corridor, pulling the boy close to her chest like a shield. The corridor lights were dim, the noise of the hall muffled, but still angry. "Stop running," Kelechi said, not harsh, just tired. "I'm not chasing you." Adora stopped. Her shoulders sagged as if years finally caught up with her. "I didn't plan this," she whispered. "I swear." Kelechi crouched slightly, his eyes never leaving the boy. "What's your name?" The boy clutched Adora's dress. "I'm not supposed to say," he whispered again. Kelechi nodded slowly. "Okay, then tell me this, do you like football?" The boy's eyes lit up. He nodded eagerly. Kelechi swallowed. He liked football at that age too. Obsessively. Footsteps approached. Voices. Security was regrouping. Adora glanced over her shoulder. "We can't stay here. They'll throw us out." "Let them," Kelechi said. "Not until I get answers." He looked at Adora. "How old is he?" Adora closed her eyes. 5. The number hit him like a punch. 5 years. The same length of time since she disappeared from his life. Kelechi's hands curled into fists. 5 years ago, you were still calling me at night. You still said you loved me. Tears spilled freely now. "I did love you," Adora said. Then why did you leave?" Kelechi demanded. She laughed bitterly. "I didn't leave. I was removed." The words hung between them, heavy and sharp. Adora lowered herself to the floor so she was eye level with her son. "Go inside the kitchen," she whispered to him gently. "Wait for me there." The boy hesitated. "What about him?" he asked, nodding toward Kelechi. Adora's voice cracked. "Just go, my love." The boy ran off reluctantly. The moment he disappeared, Adora broke. "They came to my house," she said, shaking. "They said you were done with me. That you didn't want the pregnancy to ruin your future." Kelechi felt sick. "I never said that." "I know that now," she whispered. "But back then, they had documents, money, power." She looked up at him, eyes blazing with pain. "Your mother looked me in the eyes and told me my baby died." Kelechi staggered back a step. Before he could speak, Kayamika's voice echoed from the corridor entrance. "So this is where you ran to." She stood there, perfectly composed again, but her eyes were cold. 5 years ago, she continued slowly, Adora was in another city. Working. Single. No child. Kelechi turned sharply. "How do you know that?" Kayamika smiled thinly. "Because I checked." Adora's breath hitched. "You lied." Kayamika shrugged. "Truth is flexible when you have the right people." Kelechi's heart pounded. "So you knew about her before today." Kayamika didn't deny it. "I knew she existed. I didn't know she'd show up like this." Adora whispered, stunned. "You erased us." Kayamika stepped closer to Kelechi. "I protected what was mine." Kelechi stared at the woman he was about to marry and realized something terrifying. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a design. A phone rang loudly in Kelechi's pocket. Unknown number. He answered. A calm voice said, "Sir, this is MedSure Diagnostics. Your requested DNA test sample has been received. However, someone already collected the result." Kelechi's blood turned to ice. "Who?" he asked. The line went dead. The line went dead, but the words stayed alive in Kelechi's head. Someone already collected the result. Kelechi lowered the phone slowly. The corridor felt tighter, like the walls were leaning in to listen. Kayamika broke the silence first. "You see," she said lightly. "Scammers do this all the time. Confuse you, collect money, vanish." Adora's laugh was sharp and wounded. "If this was about money, I would have spoken years ago." Kelechi turned to her. "Then speak now." She hesitated. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because saying it had consequences. "My real name isn't on the staff list," Adora said quietly. "I'm not supposed to be here today." Kelechi frowned. "Then why are you?" She met his eyes. "Because I needed the money. And because silence pays better than truth." A man in a catering supervisor's uniform appeared at the end of the corridor, arms folded, eyes hard. Adora, he called coldly, you're needed outside. Now. Adora stiffened. Kelechi stepped forward. Who are you? The man ignored him. You signed an agreement. No drama. No recognition. Or you lose everything. What agreement? Kelechi demanded. Adora swallowed. A silence clause. The man smirked. She works under a fake name. Cash payments. No questions asked. Kelechi's jaw tightened. How much? Adora's voice dropped. Enough to feed a child. The man shrugged. And if she breaks the rules, she gets nothing. Kelechi felt something snap. She's done here. The man laughed. Sir, this is a wedding, not a charity. Step aside. Adora stepped between them. Please, she whispered to Kelechi. Don't fight this. I can't afford to lose this job. He stared at her. You're begging me. To protect people who hurt you. Her eyes filled again. I'm begging you to protect my son. She turned slightly, lowering her voice. Do you know what it feels like to teach a child not to talk about his father? To tell him silence is safety. Kelechi's chest burned. Why didn't you come to me? Because every door I tried slammed shut, she said. Hospitals, lawyers, schools. Someone always arrived before me, with money. She laughed bitterly. I was poor, Kelechi. Poor people don't get believed. The supervisor checked his watch. Time's up. Kelechi reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. How much will it take for you to leave us alone? The man raised a brow. Sir. Name your price. Adora grabbed his hand. Don't. The man smiled slowly. Actually, someone already paid. Kelechi froze. Paid who? The man leaned in slightly. For her silence. Long ago. Kelechi's mind raced. Who? The man straightened. I don't ask names. But the instruction was clear. If she ever appears near your family again, remove her immediately. Adora's knees nearly buckled. Kelechi felt dizzy. My family. The man nodded. Yes, sir. Footsteps echoed again. Kelechi's mother's voice floated down the corridor, calm and controlled. Is there a problem here? Adora's face drained of color. The supervisor stepped aside respectfully. No problem, Ma, just handling staff. Kelechi looked at his mother, his voice shaking. You paid her employer? His mother met his eyes. I paid for peace. Kelechi's phone vibrated again. A text message this time. Unknown number. If you don't stop digging, the child disappears. Kelechi looked up slowly, rage and fear mixing in his eyes. Adora whispered, terrified, they're watching us. And Kelechi realized this wasn't about a wedding anymore. It was about a war he never knew he was in. Kelechi looked at the boy again and felt it. This child had been hidden on purpose. The service corridor buzzed with whispers from the hall behind them. Someone was arguing with security. Someone else was laughing nervously, pretending everything was fine. Nothing was fine. Adora stood stiff, gripping the boy's shoulders as if he could vanish if she loosened her hold. Kelechi, she said quietly, this is where you stop asking questions. He stared at her. No, this is where you start answering them. Before she could respond, a woman in a catering jacket stormed toward them, clipboard in hand, face red with anger. What nonsense is this? She snapped. Stella, what are you doing away from your station? Adora flinched at the fake name. Kelechi stepped forward. She's with me. The woman scoffed. Sir, with respect, she's staff. And she's already on thin ice. Adora's voice trembled. Please. I'll return the uniform after this. The supervisor leaned closer and hissed. You signed an agreement. No scenes. No recognition. Especially not with him. Kelechi's jaw tightened. What agreement? Adora swallowed hard. One that pays me. To stay invisible. The supervisor flipped her clipboard. You break the rules, you lose your wages. All of them. How much? Kelechi asked sharply. Adora didn't answer. The supervisor did. 6 months' pay. Kelechi turned to Adora slowly. 6 months of silence. She nodded, shame flooding her eyes. School fees. Hospital bills. Rent. The boy tugged her dress. Mommy. Are we going home? Adora forced a smile. Soon. Kelechi felt something crack inside him. He lowered his voice. All these years. You were struggling like this. Adora looked away. Struggling was easier than explaining. She finally faced him, tears streaming freely now. Do you know what it does to a child when you teach him not to speak his truth? When you say, don't tell anyone who your father is. Kelechi's chest burned. You took that burden alone. Because I was made to, she whispered. Every time I tried to rise, someone pushed me back down. She looked toward the wedding hall. Your world is protected, she said. Mine is disposable. The supervisor cleared her throat. Sir, let's be clear. This arrangement didn't start today. Kelechi's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She's been watched, the woman said bluntly. For years. Adora froze. You promised me privacy. The supervisor shrugged. That wasn't my promise. Kelechi felt cold. Who ordered this? The supervisor hesitated, then spoke. An elder woman. Powerful. Family-oriented. Kelechi's stomach dropped. Footsteps echoed behind them. His mother appeared at the corridor entrance, perfectly calm, lips curved in polite concern. Why is everyone hiding back here? She asked. Adora's knees nearly buckled. Kelechi turned slowly. Mama, did you do this? His mother sighed softly. I did what was necessary. For how long? Kelechi asked. She met his eyes without blinking. Since the day she became a threat. Adora whispered broken. I was pregnant. Not dangerous. The older woman replied coldly. You were both. The boy looked up at Kelechi again, innocent and confused. Uncle. Are you going now? Kelechi knelt in front of him, heart pounding. No. He stood and faced his mother. If this child is mine, he said slowly, then everything you built on lies ends today. From the hall, the priest's voice echoed faintly. Shall we continue the ceremony? Kelechi didn't answer. Because he had just realized the wedding wasn't the biggest thing at stake. A life was. The priest's voice faded into murmurs as guests shifted restlessly. Someone laughed awkwardly. Someone else whispered, Is this part of the program? Kelechi didn't move. His mother adjusted her wrapper calmly, eyes steady on him. You're embarrassing yourself, she said softly. And your bride. Kayamika appeared at the corridor entrance, her face pale beneath the makeup. What is happening? She asked, her voice tight. Why is everyone staring? Adora instinctively pulled the boy behind her. Kelechi stepped forward, placing himself between them. Kayamika, I need you to listen. Her eyes darted to Adora, then to the child. Something ugly crossed her face. No, she snapped. I won't listen to this rubbish again. She turned to Kelechi's mother. Mama, please control this. The older woman nodded. Security, she called gently. Escort the staff and the child out. This has gone far enough. 2 guards approached. Adora's breath quickened. Please. Don't take him away. The boy clung to her leg, frightened. Mommy. Something in Kelechi broke completely. Stop, he said. The guards hesitated. Kelechi's voice rose, firm and commanding. Nobody moves that child. The hall went dead quiet. Kayamika stared at him. You're choosing this over me. Kelechi looked at her, pain flickering in his eyes. I'm choosing the truth. Kayamika's lips trembled. Then you're choosing humiliation. Kelechi turned back to his mother. You said the pregnancy ended. His mother replied evenly. Because that's what I was told. Adora laughed bitterly through tears. You watched me bleed. You signed papers. You paid doctors. A murmur swept through the hall. Kayamika gasped. That's a lie. Adora reached into her worn handbag with shaking hands. I kept one thing, she whispered. Because I didn't trust anyone. She pulled out a folded, yellowed hospital document. Kelechi took it. His hands shook as he read. Diagnosis. Complicated pregnancy. Emergency intervention required. Infant survival, probable with care. His breath caught. You told me my baby was dead, Adora whispered to his mother. But he wasn't. Kelechi lifted his eyes slowly. "Mama," he said, voice breaking, "you lied to me." For the first time, his mother's composure cracked. Just slightly. "I protected my bloodline," she said coldly. "That girl would have ruined you." Kelechi looked down at the boy again. At the same dimple. The same eyes. The same quiet strength. The boy reached out hesitantly and touched Kelechi's hand. Something ancient and undeniable passed between them. Kelechi straightened. "This wedding is over," he said. The hall erupted. Kayamika screamed. "You can't do this to me." Kelechi faced her, eyes heavy with regret. "I'm sorry." Then he turned back to Adora. "Take him. Go somewhere safe. I'll find you." Adora stared at him, unsure. "They won't stop." Kelechi leaned close and whispered, "Neither will I." As Adora hurried away with the child, Kelechi's phone vibrated again. A new message. "Unknown number. You've crossed the line." Next time, the child won't walk away. Kelechi clenched his jaw. He looked back at the altar, at the guests, at the life he thought he had built, and realized the real battle had just begun. The envelope felt heavier than paper. Kelechi knew whatever was inside could end lives. Night had fallen by the time Kelechi left the wedding venue. Guests were still arguing inside, but he walked past them like a stranger at his own funeral. He sat alone in his car, hands resting on the steering wheel, staring at the envelope Adora had pressed into his palm earlier, just before security dragged her away the first time. "Kelechi," she had whispered, "if anything happens to me, read this." His phone buzzed. "Kayamika, you humiliated me in front of the world. We will talk." He ignored it. Kelechi opened the envelope slowly. Inside were hospital receipts, photocopied forms, and a folded letter written in Adora's handwriting. The paper was worn, like it had been unfolded 1,000 times and folded back with fear. He read the letter first. "I was told my baby was gone, but my body kept telling me he wasn't. I begged for answers. I was warned to stop asking. When I didn't, they offered money. When I refused, they offered fear." Kelechi's throat tightened. The documents showed dates, appointments he never knew about. A doctor's stamp he recognized from his mother's hospital. Then he saw something that made his hands shake. A discharge note. Mother and child stable. His chest slammed. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. "Sir," a male voice said calmly. "You were advised to let the matter rest." Kelechi's grip tightened. "Who is this?" "A friend," the voice replied. "Of your family." Kelechi's voice cracked. "You took my son." Silence. Then the voice spoke again. "Your son is alive because we allowed it." Kelechi slammed his hand against the steering wheel. "You don't get to say that." The voice softened mockingly. "You had ambition, a future. A woman like Adora would have slowed you down." Kelechi closed his eyes. Images flooded him. Adora crying, the boy hiding behind her legs, the fear in his eyes. "Why threaten them now?" Kelechi demanded. "Because you're digging," the voice replied. "And digging exposes graves." The call ended abruptly. Moments later, a message arrived from an unfamiliar email address. Attachment: DNA result. That PDF. Kelechi froze. His hands trembled as he opened it. The result stared back at him in cold black letters. Probability of paternity: 99.9%. Kelechi sucked in a sharp breath. The boy was his. No doubt. No confusion. Truth finally. But as his eyes scanned further, something felt wrong. The report had been reissued. There were 2 timestamps. One from yesterday. Another from 5 years ago. Someone had known the truth since the beginning. Someone had buried it. Kelechi whispered, "You monsters." His phone buzzed again, this time from his mother. "Mama, come home. We need to talk like family." Kelechi stared at the screen. Family. The word felt poisoned. Kelechi started the car. Not toward home. Toward the address stamped on the DNA report. Because if the truth survived 5 years in the dark, it was time to drag it into the light. As he drove, his phone vibrated one last time. Unknown. Turn back. This is your final warning. Kelechi didn't slow down. Kayamaka didn't cry after the wedding collapsed. She made a phone call. While Kelechi drove through the city chasing truth, Kayamaka sat alone in a luxury hotel room. Her wedding gown folded on a chair like a defeated flag. Her hands were steady as she dialed the number saved as Cousin Ike. "I need everything," she said when he answered. "Medical records, bank transfers, the boy, the woman, everything." The man chuckled softly. "You're paying double, triple," Kayamaka replied. "And erase your tracks." She ended the call and stared at her reflection in the mirror. "No one takes my future," she whispered. Across town, Kelechi pulled into the DNA lab's parking lot. The building was dark. Too dark. He stepped out of his car, unease crawling up his spine. Inside, the reception area was in chaos. A chair lay overturned. Files were scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. Kelechi grabbed a passing cleaner. "Where is the lab technician who handled my test?" The man's eyes darted. She didn't come back from lunch. Kelechi's heart pounded. Since when? Since yesterday. The same day the result was collected. Kelechi's phone rang. "Kayamaka." He answered reluctantly. "I heard you went to a lab," she said sweetly. "You should stop embarrassing yourself." "What did you do?" Kelechi asked. She laughed lightly. "I protected myself." Kelechi's voice shook. "You knew about the DNA." "I suspected," she admitted. "So I confirmed." "And you hid it?" "I delayed it," she corrected, "until I knew where you stood." Kelechi closed his eyes. "You threatened a child." Kayamaka scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. Children forget." The words sliced him open. He imagined his son being taught to forget him the way he had been erased. "Why marry me if you knew?" he asked quietly. Kayamaka's voice dropped. "Because I loved the man you could become, not the baggage you drag behind." A security officer approached Kelechi nervously. "Sir, there's something you should see." He led Kelechi to a back office and opened a drawer. Inside was a sealed envelope stamped confidential. The name on it froze Kelechi's blood. Ador and Woy. Case reopened. The date was that morning. The officer swallowed. Orders came from a private firm. They said the woman might attempt blackmail. Kelechi laughed bitterly. "She doesn't even know she's being hunted." Kayamaka's voice returned in his ear, smug. "I warned you to stop digging." Kelechi hung up. He realized then that Kayamaka wasn't just reacting. She was running a parallel investigation. And she was ahead. Kelechi rushed back to his car and dialed Adeora's number. Switched off. Panic surged. Then a text message arrived from Adeora's phone. "Adeora, they're here. I think they know about you." The message ended with a shared location. Kelechi started the engine, heart racing. Because this time, the truth wasn't hiding, it was being hunted. Kelechi arrived at the location, and Adeora's door was already open. The apartment was too quiet. No crying. No footsteps. No television noise. Kelechi stepped inside slowly, every muscle tight. A chair lay on its side. A child's shoe sat by the door, abandoned. His chest tightened so hard it hurt. "Adora," he called. No answer. He moved deeper into the apartment. The small living room was torn apart, drawers open, sofa cushions ripped. Papers scattered, like someone had been searching for something specific. His phone buzzed. "Unknown, you were warned." Kelechi clenched his jaw and rushed into the bedroom. The wardrobe doors were open. Clothes dumped on the bed. And on the floor, Adeora's handbag, empty. He dropped to his knees, panic roaring in his ears. Then he saw it. A brown envelope on the bedside table. The same kind the DNA lab used. Kelechi grabbed it, hands shaking, and tore it open. Inside was nothing. No report. No paper. Just a single line written in black ink. "Truth can disappear too." His phone rang immediately. "Kayamaka." He answered, rage shaking his voice. "Where is she?" Kayamaka sighed softly. "You're making things difficult." "You touched my son," Kelechi growled. "If anything happens to him, you should have chosen your bride," she cut in. "This is what happens when men hesitate. Kelechi felt his legs give way, and he sat on the bed, clutching the empty envelope. I loved you, he said quietly. I was ready to build a life with you. Kayamika's voice softened, but not with kindness. And I was ready to protect it. Love doesn't survive scandals, Kelechi. He pictured his son's face again, the dimple, the eyes. My child isn't scandal, he whispered. Kayamika laughed. He is to me. The cruelty in her voice broke something deep inside Kelechi. A new call interrupted the line. Unknown number. Kelechi answered. A distorted voice spoke. You want the woman and the child back? Yes, Kelechi breathed. Then forget the DNA, the voice said. Forget the wedding. Forget everything. Kelechi swallowed. And if I don't? There was a pause. Then a child's voice, small, frightened. Daddy. Kelechi's world stopped. The call ended. Kelechi stared at the phone, shaking. They hadn't just taken Adora and the boy. They had confirmed what he feared most. They knew the truth. They knew the child was his. And they were using it. His phone vibrated again, this time a photo message. It showed Adora blindfolded, fear written across her face. A caption followed, last chance. Walk away. Kelechi stood slowly, fury hardening into resolve. He deleted the DNA report backup from his phone. Then he sent one final message. Kelechi, I'm not walking away. I'm coming for you. As he stepped out of the apartment, sirens wailed in the distance. And Kelechi realized the truth didn't just vanish. It was being used as bait.